What I think is shocking or striking with this is, so I think the research, I actually applaud the research. I think it's well grounded. I think it is the right story we need to be telling as far as getting real with where this is at.
Mhm.
But the juxtaposition with them with this sort of breathy announcement about how great everything is and why we're scaling it up and raising the prices in light of that very that very real truth was a little shocking to me, because they are, well, I think they're raising the prices. To be honest, I went through this announcement twice,
Mhm.
and even as someone in the space, it was confusing as heck to me to figure out what they're actually charging for any of this, and exactly where that lands. But from all indications are they're raising the prices, and it's super tough to sort of figure out exactly what it's going to cost you. So go figure.
Right. You've got these $125 per user per month Agentforce add-ons, or you have Agentforce One editions, which assuming are the like whole enchilada, starting at $550 per user per month if you want to get the most comprehensive suite on the 1 million flex credits per organization per year, and being able to create more custom agents that are able to use X number of credits to do X, Y, Z. I think part of the complexity here is that agents often, because you don't quite know how many credits or tokens or calls necessarily you're going to be using when you ask an agent to do something, they're still having trouble figuring out how to either ground that or to price that correctly without adding a fuzzy usage layer that is hard to track or to estimate.
Yeah, well, it is interesting, and it speaks to, I think, one of the quotes in here is that here, whatever, well, I lost it here. Bill Pat. So I'm actually referencing a quote by Glen McCracken on LinkedIn, who just sort of went off on this. He happened to identify these exact same two things: this announcement from Salesforce about the pricing and the research, and he just went on a riff on it. We can put the link in the show notes here, but he quotes Bill Patterson, the EVP of CRM, who says, anyone who thinks they figured out AI pricing is kidding themselves. And I think that's really what's going on, is that it's so hard. So
Mhm.
as a refresher, Salesforce had a consumption-based model. That's what they were doing. And so they're shifting this into this more fixed price model, sort of. But it's still extremely confusing to try to figure out exactly what that's going to look like.
True. It's
All right.
not good. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge to figure out what AI should actually be priced at. I actually am hoping that at some point platforms figure out how to call it throttle their own agents to some extent so that you can have more predictable performance and then pricing, because not every agentic call requires your absolute 100% best effort to get the right answer. And we need to get a better idea of, sometimes you're asking a simple question, you should just be able to get the
It,
answer you're
it,
looking for.
it is funny you say it, and I'm a little bit of a riff here, because we don't have that much on this particular episode. But there's all these different models, and all the major players are in fact releasing low cost models. Microsoft has an entire library of small language models. We have all these different versions that can help with that. What I haven't seen a whole lot of research around is any approach that allows you to dynamically, somebody did announce something recently, I can't remember who it was, but this idea of dynamically being able to interpret the prompt
Mhm.
and potentially select that lower cost model to respond to it. I think that's going to be the ultimate holy grail, because like right now I have access to dozens of models,
Yeah.
but I have to go manually switch between them, and that's a pain in the butt. No one's going to do that, right? And I think these usage parameters it's really tough. And I think what makes AI particularly challenging, again, I'm speaking for someone who owns this from a software company side, is that you are sitting here trying to guess what that usage is going to be, and the better your product is, potentially that means the more usage you're going to see, because people go, oh, this is great, I can use it for this, I can use it for that, and off they go, and suddenly your costs skyrocket. And yet what are customers expecting? They're expecting a normalized cost. And so you're trying to find this balance point where it's not this prohibitive price, but you're delivering it in a solution that makes sense. And it's just really hard. And so that's why I am empathetic with Salesforce's plight. But they sort of can't help themselves with just how, over the top they get with it. But
Mhm.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah. I think ultimately we're going to have to figure out these trade-offs. Every platform is going to have to, every normal software platform is going to have to figure out its hub of models, do some additional testing on the back end, and figure out what fits well. Because when you look at some of these numbers, just in the benchmarking for that Salesforce did, like something like Llama 3 for 70 billion parameters is 30% for workflows, 33% for 405 billion, parameters. So, 6 times larger model for 3% improvement when you're talking 30 versus 33%. Like, that's not a really big improvement for what you're paying there. So there's got to be some rationalization for capabilities like that.
And as we've said a million times, we'll say it again, we are at the beginning of this process. It is
Yes.
still incredibly nascent. And I think this is just yet another example of that. So this is sort of the inside baseball side of it, right? This is the software company's dilemma of having to solve this. And so if you're the CIO, if you're the enterprise IT leader, you're sort of on the receiving end of this. But let's